Hi, and welcome to my channel. Or if you're a returning subscriber, hi again. It's so nice to see you here for another video. My name's Tesla, and today I'm going to show you how to make these adorable galaxy style necklaces using UV resin, glitter, alcohol ink, and holographic foils. As always, all the materials that I use for this project will be linked in the description down below. So let's get crafting. I started off this project by grabbing all of the supplies I need. So I've got a silicone mat down to protect my desk. I've got these little silicone cups along with all of my pigments, my glitter, my UV lamp. And I've also got my UV resin, some holographic foils, and the blank pendant bezels that I'll be using for this project. As you can see, I kind of made little crutches to go underneath those pendants because the top of the pendant makes it so that the bezel doesn't lay flat, and when I pour in my resin, it's going to all kind of go to the bottom. So I just took a little bit of wax paper and folded that up to make sure that they're laying nice and flat. My next step is going to be to cut out my holographic foils. So I'm just using scissors to get as close as I possibly can to the design without cutting into the design itself, and just checking to make sure that some of these bigger pieces are going to fit and going to work. And I am so excited to be back here crafting with you today. It's been a while since I've filmed one of these videos, and at the time of my last recording, I was really hoping that this channel would hit 5,000 subscribers, and we've definitely surpassed that. So I just really wanted to say thank you so much to everybody who has taken the time to leave an encouraging message or hit that subscribe button. It really does mean the world to me. After I've cut out my holographic foils, my next step is going to be to mix my pigment with the UV resin. And UV resin stays liquid until you put it under a UV light, so there's no mixing of equal parts or anything like that like you need to do with epoxy. So I'm starting out with some alcohol ink by Pendant Colors. It's their pink. I've just put a little bit of my UV resin in one of my silicone cups, and I'm using a silicone popsicle stick to mix that pigment in. You really want to make sure that your pigment is thoroughly mixed into the resin, but you also don't want to add too much pigment to the resin, or you can have some problems when it comes to curing. So just a couple drops will do, especially because these pendants are so small. I really don't need much. Next, I'll be mixing up some Mattia Black from Pendant Colors in a little bit more resin. I decided to pour a little bit more black because I do want these to have sort of a galaxy effect. So the black and the teal I need a little bit more of, and I just made a little bit of pink. Again, this is teal by Pendant Colors, their alcohol ink. And the last color I'm using is a nice pearly white by Arteza. This one's a mica powder, and when you're mixing mica powder and resin, you want to be extra careful to thoroughly mix that because you don't want any chunks of the mica powder remaining. And again, I will have all the materials that I use for this project linked in the description below. The nicest thing about using silicone popsicle sticks to do your mixing is you can set them aside on a piece of wax paper and put them under your UV light, and then you can easily just peel off that cured resin so you can use these tools over and over, which I personally absolutely love. It's great when we can find ways to reduce waste. But after that's done, I'm going to use my heat gun and pop these little air bubbles that are forming on the surface of my resin before moving on to the next step, which I apparently didn't record. Hi, can you tell I haven't made one of these videos in a while? But I poured a little bit of my black resin in there and then added a bit of teal and just a little bit of white, and now I'm adding just a touch of pink. And I'm going to be honest with you guys, this was my least favorite of all four of these pieces, and after this one I decided to scrap the pink and just went with the black, teal, and white. But here we are. So I've used a silicone tool just to kind of break up some of that color, and now I'm adding a little bit of glitter to it. And I will show you which glitter I'm using in the next piece. I was kind of panic crafting at this point. But after I have my holographic foil laid down there nice and flat on top of that wet resin, I'm going to put this piece under my UV light and cure it a few times just so it's no longer liquidy, but I'm going to continue curing this as I work on the next piece, which I promise I recorded. And here we are, just starting out with a little bit of that black resin, going in with a bit of teal, and then adding just a little bit of white. And as you can see here, I'm not letting the resin touch the edges because these pieces are so small, I really don't want it to spill over the sides. So I'm just using a little bit of gravity to fill that out, and then my little silicone tool to break up some of those colors. So this is the first glitter that I'm using. It's just a fine blue glitter. And this one, I was a little bit hesitant after that first one where I just used everything. So I decided only to use the fine glitter and this little mushroom holographic foil. And actually I think that this may be my favorite piece of the set. It's simplistic but really cute, and it's also the one that my son claimed for himself. So after getting that initial cure on this one, I'm going to set it off to the side with the other one and just continue curing these. I'm pretty obsessive when it comes to curing UV resin, especially with pigments. You really want to make sure that the light can penetrate. So you want to go ahead and cure it again, cure it again. For this next piece, I switched it up a little bit and started out with my teal first, and then going in with a little bit of black, and then finishing that up with just a little bit of white one more time before I use my little tool to break up some of those lines. And then I'm going to hit it with just a little bit of that fine glitter and use some of this really pretty blue opal chunky glitter from Let's Resin. And this is just a friendly reminder that if you are enjoying this video so far, please don't forget to give it a like. It's a free way that you can help support this channel and my art, and I appreciate it so much. Look at this glittery mess I'm making on my desk, you guys. Oh my goodness. But the light that I'm using does have an automatic timer. I believe it goes off after a minute or so, which is super convenient. I really do like this little UV light. This UV system is really fun. It's great when you can make a project and finish it in the same day, unlike epoxy resin that typically takes about 24 hours to harden completely. But I actually do have a step-by-step epoxy resin art tutorial on here showing you how to make a galaxy coaster using epoxy resin, so I'll make sure to link that in the description as well, just in case anybody's interested. I do really like how this moon piece turned out as well. I love pretty much all of them except for that first one with the pink. I don't know what I was thinking, but I'm curious to hear your thoughts in the comments. Let me know which one of these pieces is your favorite. So I'm just going to go ahead and do the initial cure on this one before we finish up these pieces. But first, let me show you how satisfying it is to cure the leftover resin and pop them out of their little containers. So I've got all of my UV resin here, all of the extra, and I've cured that, and now it's easy just to pop those out. I'm thinking about actually making a video on how I clean all of my resin tools. Let me know if that's something you'd be interested in. And I'm just playing around here a little bit, but I wanted to show you how pretty this glitter is on that black background. I feel like I could see this piece for like an earring or something like that. It makes me want to experiment some more with this glitter. I do have a whole pack of glitter that I can't wait to open. Maybe I'll make some baubles for Christmas. Next, I'm going to add some clear UV resin to the top of my finished pieces just to give them a really nice even surface and to make sure they're super glossy. Again, you really don't want to take that resin all the way to the end. Instead, you can just use your tool to spread it out and make sure that it's touching all of the edges, all of those little corners, but you definitely don't want any spillover. If you do have some spillover, you can kind of clean that up with a napkin before the resin's completely cured, but if you can avoid it, that's definitely the way to go. I do really love that this UV resin comes with this very thin nozzle, so it's pretty easy to do these smaller, more intricate little details and not have your resin spilling everywhere. A very clever use of design. And once I've got a nice even layer of that clear UV resin, I'm going to once again use my UV light and cure those. You can see here I'm using the crutches again because now that I'm using that liquid resin once again, I want to make sure that it lays evenly. So I've also got that little silicone tool under there, again, so I can cure that resin that's on the tip, pop it off, and use it for my next pieces. My last step was to put these adorable little pendants onto some chains to make them into wearable necklaces. If you're interested in how to attach chain to pendants, I do have a whole jewelry making playlist right here on YouTube, so I'll make sure to link some of those videos in the description as well, so you can watch those after this one. I really hope that you enjoyed today's project, and I hope that it inspires you to make something of your own today. Thank you so much for spending part of your day with me, and if you've made it all the way to the end of this video, leave me some sort of flower emoji just to confuse anyone who hasn't made it this far. I hope you have a great day, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!